on this week's episode of LawFlip.
Welcome, Sugar-Free Rich.
Thank you so much, brother.
People are like, just eat moderately. And it's like, well, imagine trying to sniff 3 moderate lines of cocaine a day.
Exactly.
That might be challenging to do.
Exactly.
You're not going to the donut shop
Yeah, I'm
anymore.
not going to the donut shop no more. You know, you can look, but you can't touch. You know what I mean? It's like, you try. You get on a treadmill. They go, oh, go a mile. It's like, oh, a mile, that's going to take me like 20 minutes. And it's sad because the person next to you is just rocking it. So I had like finally met someone who not only was an inspiration, but then extended a hand. They saw me kind of go in, and they're like very light work in the beginning. They're like seeing what I could do type shit. And they're like, oh, try to do a burpee. It's like, oh my God, I'm 450 pounds. How the hell am I going to do that? 5 pounds of gummy bears would be delivered by Amazon, and you'd be just hammering this thing home.
Sour or not sour?
You're eating it, and you're loving it, and then after you're like, why did I do that?
He just gave me a good Persian mwah, okay?
LawFlip, objection, your honor. Turn the game upside down. LawFlip, objection, your honor. Turn the game upside down.
What's up, everybody? This is LawFlip. It's a conversation about law, life, health. So I've struggled with weight and exercise my entire damn life. I passed the 2 hardest bars in the country, California, New York. Those bar exams do not have anything on the struggle of weight. And so it's my Achilles heel. It's been my Achilles heel. I've worked on it. So growing up in LA, you get the best looking people in the world, all sorts of pressure to look good. So my full story on that will come another day. But with that background, you could understand why I would want to have the following guest on. He's a former Apple employee. He's lost over 200 pounds, I think, in 11 months. And now he's turned his new lifestyle into a business. That's what we're all about, turning your struggles into opportunities in an entrepreneurial way. It's called, his business, it's called Sugar-Free Rich. So let's flip the game upside down. Welcome, Sugar-Free Rich.
Thank you so much, bro.
Okay, so don't forget to follow us everywhere on social media at LawFlip and subscribe. Call us at our new phone number, 1-833-LawFlip, 1-833-LawFlip. So, Sugar-Free Rich, you made it in. How you doing?
Honestly, man, they couldn't get any better.
Amazing.
Yeah, I'm enjoying. Yeah, absolutely. I got a workout in. I was able to go enlighten some people's day with some of my meals, man. Some healthy, clean eating, and I delivered them out. Just get to ride around my Jeep all day, bro. I'm living the dream.
It's incredible.
Dude. Yeah, I'm living the dream.
So where are you from?
Originally, a small town in Jersey. I'm from Waldwick, New Jersey, bro.
Okay,
right
cool.
right outside New York City.
Okay, so
yeah.
And before you got into this weight transformation, what were you doing for a living?
So I managed Apple stores for probably about 2 years. I'd gotten the role, but I was a technician before that. I worked for them for about 10 years. So
cool.
Yeah, I was with them for a long time. And then I grew up, actually, my family has a restaurant in New Jersey. So I grew up cooking fried chicken and pizza joint.
Amazing.
So,
okay.
Yeah, a lot of good.
So on the food front, on the food front, I've gone to rehabs, I've taken pills, I've taken shots, I've gone to nutritionists, therapists, psychiatrists, I've had procedures. I've pretty much done every single thing imaginable to try to address and control my weight. Mm-hmm. What are some of the things that you've tried to do before you had this transformation?
Anything under the sun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I never went down like the procedure route. I'll just be fully transparent. Like I was so scared to go to the doctor. And anytime the word even came up about like medicine or going in for a checkup, or even if like I was ill and they would say to go, like my mom would be like, "Did you go?" I would be like, "Oh yeah, I went," but I would never go. Like I was so scared because I've been a big dude.
Yeah,
my whole
and
life.
also you'd have to like go step on the scale.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think that's the big thing, right? Is that we get so caught up in that number, and then you don't know what that number is, because I wasn't somebody that introduced that into my life as having a scale. That's not going to be in my life, because half the time they don't even read. I knew what was over it, so it would error out,
Yeah.
But for me, I had gone through scenarios where I've lost like maybe 50 pounds, but then you put on 70, or you know what I mean? It's always was like a scenario where it was a roller coaster, right?
Sure.
Or that like yo-yo term that people say, where like you'll drop a little bit. But I had actually kind of ran into a little bit of a health issue that like I knew was going on internally. And I didn't even, like I said, I was so scared to go to the doctor that I didn't even necessarily want to go, but I knew I needed help. Like I kept getting ill, and I ran into a scenario where I was like, I got to do something about being able to shift it. So, for me, you want me to dive right in? Yeah.
Well, so I mean, so
Sorry.
in talking about the sort of challenge of food, there's a debate. Is it an addiction? Is it an illness? Is it Is it self-control? Is it moderation? We need to have moderation. Is it a drug? Is it that you need to be sugar-free? Sometimes I used to say like, people are like, just eat moderately. And it's like, well, imagine trying to sniff 3 moderate lines of cocaine a day.
Exactly.
That might be challenging to do.
Exactly.
And so for people like me, that's kind of what food has felt like for a big part of my life. Thankfully, I've been working through it and I've made tremendous challenges, but I don't think people that don't deal with the struggle don't quite understand the pull.
Oh yeah, no, and I there wasn't a waking moment of the day that I didn't have food on my mind. Right? Like it was always it was a coping mechanism.
Right.
It was like if I was happy, I would want to eat, and I would want to eat bad. Right? Or if I was sad, I would want to eat, and I would want to eat what's turned bad. You know what I'm saying? So it was like a scenario where, like I said, it would be a situation where you knew you were going to dinner one night and you're excited to go with your friends, but you would pull into a drive-thru on your way there, right? And then you would essentially eat with them, and then you might even go to a drive-thru again on the way home, like, just to kind of cope with what you were kind of going through, and the struggle of stress and anxiety and all those things. So for me, there's no doubt that it was like a drug, and I always put it when someone would be like, oh, like have a piece of cake or have this, like when I actually like shifted my mindset, I was like, well, if you put like crack on the table and told me to smoke it, I would say no. So I'm going to say no to this piece of cake,
So yes. And it's so historical. And like for me, it's rooted in my childhood and when I'm a little kid. And so all this stuff, it's such these like long patterns of stuff. So then when you struggle or you have a moment of weakness or whatever, like it just brings you back to that same cycle of when you're a little kid. And some of the things that like always bothered me was like, okay, if you're overweight, you are lazy. If you're overweight, you are basically not a smart person. Like, are there some assumptions that really bothered you along the way? You know
what? I can tell you like, internally, yes, but I never really allowed it to take away from like positivity and like trying to be able to influence people as much as I could. I was always somebody who like just wanted the best for people, so I always gave them my best. But the hard part is that internally I was struggling with it so much. So I think it was like this crazy, it was definitely like a mental health issue that I was unaware of or like I didn't know how to address. Like you said, you had gone through like all the support systems that existed, and obviously like needed that, but I didn't have access to it for a while until Apple like gifted me the ability to go and actually talk it out with somebody.
That's unbelievable.
I mean, there's no words to describe what they provided me with. Like
that's incredible.
I mean, they did things that are so far beyond anything that you could ever even expect from like any company, but then one that you think is like, oh, like cash cow. No, like they care about their people more than you could even like imagine, and
that's good to know.
100%. So yeah.
What are some of the like the pain? Tell us about the pain of having challenges with food. Why is it so painful?
You know what? Because I wouldn't ever like overeat in front of someone. I would always do it when I was alone.
For sure.
So the pain came in a scenario where like, you'd almost force yourself to be on your own more often. And when I had buddies that I lived with for a while, another one, like, I was down to a point, and I think this was like the hardest thing is like, I was down to a point where like I lived with a buddy out in LA for a while. We moved out here together, and it was crazy because it was like, I would actually like not request weekends off or like specific days off because he worked a 9 to 5 and I needed like one day during the week off where I was alone at the house just to like go nuts and eat food. Like it was like down to a point where he'd be like, yo, why don't you try to like shift your schedule? I'd be like, it's tough. Like I would make it, but I was like battling this to a point where it was a scenario where like I needed that day on my own, just to like go to the supermarket, buy probably like $50 or $60 worth of like crap and just annihilate all of it to a point where like I could throw out that same bag from the supermarket that I like bought everything from. I could like unload everything in there, throw it down the garbage chute, and he wouldn't even know that I consumed all that, like
there's so much shame. Like,
oh dude,
I like when I first went to college, I was dying to be skinny. I wanted to be skinny for like my freshman year, and I started working out like a maniac, and I actually started throwing up.
You did?
And I used to, man, it was like it was the most shameful exercise of humanity in my entire life. I used to throw up into like garbage bags and hide the evidence of it, and it's like even thinking about it, it's fucking it's insane. But so much of this is like this internal battle,
Of course.
that you don't want to share with anybody. It's not sexy. I always say, like, I went to OA too for a while, and like talk about like a not sexy place to be. It's like, you want to go to Cocaine Anonymous, you want to go to Alcoholics Anonymous, like at least there's some action going on. There's some cool people. And look, I love the people in OA, but I'm just saying, like, there's just a lot of shame and guilt around, and then it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So like, you're overweight, you feel bad about it, then you eat more. I mean, the shame, or like, how many different areas of your life did it permeate? Your career, girls, or I don't know if you're straight or not, but like, whatever.
Yeah,
like,
I'm good. Yeah.
Like, how many different areas of your life did it permeate?
You know
or,
what?
Or has it?
No, of course. I think that the only, because for me, like, I never let it, like, extra, like, I was always like class clown. Like, I was lucky enough where I wasn't like bullied for it or anything, because I was always like so positive. Never, like, when I was young, I think I remember probably one or two instances of actually somebody calling me fat. Like, I was lucky where, for whatever reason, people like always kind of like wanted to protect my energy as opposed to take it away. You know what I mean? And I don't know if that's like the universe helped me out, whatever it was, but
for sure, a lot of people get tortured.
Yeah, of course they do. That's what I'm saying, and that's why I.
It's also like the easiest thing. It's
yeah,
so easy.
It's so
like,
easy
you're in a fight, you have the best shit talking lines, and then somebody says you're fat.
Yeah. And they might have been doing it behind my back, and like maybe that's what it was. They just did it that way, where they're like, "Oh, yeah, you need help." But I was like, you know, I almost look at it from the reverse side of the spectrum, where, and it might be for some people, they go through the same thing, is that like a lot of people don't want to say to you, you got to lose weight. Like, a lot of people don't want to have that conversation. So I think internally I struggled, because I was like, I would do anything for anyone type scenario, but I had people like bring it up, and never like somebody really like force it. One of my homies did, like, one of my boys would always do that, and like I would just brush it off. But like, to like really hammer it home, you know what I'm saying? I think it's like you almost need it sometimes, but then it's like maybe that would force me into another realm. I just needed the perfect scenario for me to overcome it, and I was blessed enough to just find that, you know. And I think,
by the way, what's your national origin? Like, where are you from?
Oh, I'm a half Italian and half Syrian, and then I have like a little mix on the Syrian side. Yeah,
it's amazing.
Oh, it's great. You know,
You're
I'm blessed. I got a good thing going on, you know. But the thing is you grow up around great cooks. You grow up around great food.
Talk to me. Is it pizza, pasta, the whole thing? Oh,
dude, I mean, we're talking, you know, like I said, not only like later on it was because he was so hooked on fast food, but I grew up, and like I said, if there's an Italian house, you know, they're making pastas, they're making meatballs, they're making pizza. And then I grew up, and my family made, you know, there was a pizza and fried chicken joint. So I'm just slamming this stuff since a newborn, you know what I mean? Pretty much. I always loved to eat that. And then I got into the food industry young. So I ran into a scenario where I was like, kind of like, you're not going to football practice, you're coming to work, when I was like 11 years old, roughly. 12 probably, and you know, that gave you a knife, they taught you how to cut up chicken, you know, they like got you in the whole game. And then, you know, it was something I loved, because I love food so much, so why wouldn't I want to be around it, you know what I mean? And that was the beauty. And then you get like this human element where you get to interact with people all day, because you have customers and clients you're talking to, and then the employees. It was like the perfect scenario for me, you know. And I think you know, not only that, but like I said, I had it from the restaurant, I had it from home. And then, you know, when you got out of work, there's a Wendy's on the way home, and when you still got your license, like you'd pull in, you'd want to have the Frosty, and then you get the Frosty, you got to have the fries, because you could dip the fries in the Frosty. Like, you know, I could go on. Oh, they got a new item.
Okay, so a little bit more to the struggle. So I get that you had these like these sort of like angels around you that weren't shit talking, but like just some of the, you could probably appreciate these things now that you've just lost 200 pounds, but what are some of the, like the things that you just didn't even realize that you were maybe limited by the weight? Like you couldn't move a certain way, you couldn't wear a certain, what are some of those things that like pissed you off? And
you know, I think it was scenarios where like you're uncomfortable in long car rides, you're uncomfortable in you know, being in a scenario where you know, you'd get on a plane, you wouldn't even want to fly anywhere because you knew you had to get on an airplane. Or if you were, you know, going to let's say I'm going to Staples Center, you know, I want to go to a basketball game, you know, that the seat's so tight, you know, or a chair in a restaurant you don't want to sit in, like little things like that, because I was very sociable, so I'd always want to be in environments. But I consciously always had to say to myself, like, First off, don't overeat. Don't go nuts if you're, at, let's say, a restaurant or even at a ball game. You want to eat the chicken tenders, you want to eat the ice cream. I wouldn't do it in front of somebody, but then I would think about how
Isn't
much.
that so weird? Like we were able to, in front of other people, exhibit a behavior that we couldn't do for ourselves.
Yeah, for myself. And then the moment I was on my own, I would pull right into, it would be fast food because you're like, I need to fill this fix fast because I saw
Why we care more about other people feeling than
I don't know. And I struggle. It was crazy because, like I said, I think that was me digging down to the root, and I had resources that helped me tremendously to be able to do it. And when I look back on it, not that I've forgotten it, but I think it's a scenario where I kind of feel for that person so much that I wouldn't want to talk trash about him. But it's a scenario where that version of me was just wanted to give all of its energy all day. That's all it wanted to do. So that's why I know people didn't ever really poke fun or do anything like that to me, right? Or let me know that I was so heavy. But I think I just took out all that emotion on myself because I was well, I know I need help. And how come no one's helping me?
Yeah,
you know
for
what
sure.
I mean?
And I want to show him I want to show these clips.
Yeah.
If you can. Okay, so while he's pulling those up, another weird thing about this thing is that even though it's almost and this is so sad, it's almost a rite of passage for a woman to have food issues. It's so sad. There's such pressure on women in society to be a certain way. And so it's almost every girl has a food issue, and that's horrible. But I think where men struggle is it's almost it's kind of a pussy thing to talk about. Oh, we got to lose weight, But
definitely.
Have you been, what's your experience with that? Do you feel like there's enough attention on dudes that struggle with weight?
I think that it's become so I think there's so many of us that do struggle with it that it's almost accepted at this point. So I definitely know, and as you invest time, as you meet people and you greet people, because there was a scenario where for me, when I was bigger, this is full transparency, when I was much heavier, I felt like people were nicer to me than they are now, which is really funny.
So
they always want to, every time we went, I go to the donut shop,
like
they throw in an extra donut. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's really funny. They throw in another donut, or if you're in the fast food, you always get some extra fry. They always hook you up a little bit. Not to say they don't do it now. Maybe I'm not in those types of environments where they knew it, but
you're not going to the donut shop anymore.
Yeah, I'm not going to the donut shop no more. You can look, but you can't touch. You know what I mean? It's a scenario.
All right, so here you are on the left side. You're working out, and then you are on the right side. And then, all right, let's show the video. This is amazing. So this is how long ago? About a year ago?
This was I think it was July.
Pause this for a second. All right.
Over, but it's
so at this moment in time,
yeah.
Did you have any confidence that you were about to lose 200 pounds? What were you feeling at that time?
So what I was feeling was that, because this is pretty much almost exactly when I was starting the process, because this is very early on in it. So I was rocked and rattled because I had gotten results from the doctor. So I had gone to the doctor and he had let me know I had because I had a liver problem, and I was so emotionally struck that I was you know what, you've tried to do this so many times, never with physical activity, just eating. I would never commit to anything physical, commit to it, It's
scary.
Yeah, it's scary. There's just something about it that's scary, you know? And I think it's a lot of it comes down to that alone feeling. Because if you do take on an experience like that, you're going to be alone. But the crazy thing is that, and not to say, because my story again is very unique, but if you have a trainer, you're with somebody. So the nice part is that not only are you able to just feel as if you're doing it for someone, because some people need that. They just feel like you need a coach. They need a cheerleader. I just needed a cheerleader. Somebody just yelling at me, or hell yeah, you know what I mean? They hook you, they help you out, So like I said, for me it was a perfect scenario. But in the past, the reason why I would fail, because you'd go to the gym once in a while and you'd get on a treadmill and then you'd get off. That was the first thing they tell you. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They go, go a mile. It's a mile. That's gonna take me 20 minutes, and it's sad because the person next to you is just rocking it. You know what I mean?
6
They're
minutes
just
and 20
killing
seconds.
it. Yeah, they're how long is your mile? You hear that and you're oh, mine was 20. It's maybe 25. You know what I mean? I'm all right, I'll be out of here. I'm gonna go have a cigarette. You know what I mean? That's what you want to do. You just get out because you just were all right, well, I'm not gonna be able to win at that, so maybe I'll just be able to talk my way through it. You know what I mean? That's
all right. So all right, let's move to the next video. Here we go, dude. That is just unreal. It's unreal. So tell us about the transformation and how did you get there, and including the food process, and then obviously into your new business.
Yeah. So long story short, to tell you, I was like blessed beyond words to be able to get into Dog Pound, which is that's the personal training facility that I was in here. And like I said, it was just the universe helping to support, like not to bring it back, but I was in a scenario where like I knew, like I could tell you the whole story. I knew that there was something wrong, and I'll never forget. I was laying in bed, and I was like, for the first time I spoke it aloud. I was like, you got to do something. You got to in some way, like whatever that is, you need help. You got to go talk to somebody. You got to do something. Cause like I would get a common cold and I would just be bedridden. Like I knew something was wrong, drained mentally, drained physically. And I knew it. My nutrition was obviously garbage at that time. Like I was getting, 5 pounds of gummy bears would be delivered by Amazon and you'd be just hammering this thing home. You know what I mean? It's like my favorite thing is gummy candy,
Sour or not sour?
I mean, it didn't even matter. It was like
You don't
flavor
even
of the
taste it.
day.
That's
It was
the
flavor
thing.
of the day,
Yeah.
or of potentially of the hour.
Right,
like, what I'm saying?
right.
Down to that, and everything was like the family size or bigger, like I said. But long story short, what I'm driving at is that for me, the process really began with, like I said, kind of getting a chance to go to Dog Pound and meeting Kirk Myers, who owns the facility. There's one in New York, there's one in LA. And he had also battled with his weight. And I think it was a scenario where we connected, right? We had a chance to be able to speak and have a conversation because he had congestive heart failure at a very young age, like in his early 20s, because he was so overweight. And he just committed to his health. So I had like finally met someone who not only was an inspiration, but then extended a hand because we had a very personal conversation that helped me to understand that this person is actually like going to offer me something that I have never been offered before, as somebody like to be by my side through it, right? And the insane part is that he offered me 25 free sessions to go to the facility. And that was like, there are no words to even describe that, right? So I had committed and I had, like I said, they saw me kind of go in and they're like very light work in the beginning. They're like seeing what I could do type shit. You know what I
Don't
mean?
want you to
Because
die,
I don't know
yeah.
what the hell I could do. You know what I
Right.
mean? They're like, oh, try to do a burpee. It's like, oh my God, I'm 450 pounds. How the hell am I going to do that? Right, just seeing the movement, I was like, I'm just gonna leave. But I was like committed because they were fun and they they felt for me, you know what I
Right.
mean? And it was a scenario where they were like, yo, you seem pretty committed after I went to a couple sessions. So then they're like, yo, you should probably go to the doctor, get checked out. Go to the doctor. I'm like, run the gauntlet. Just tell me what's wrong, And they tell me I had that liver problem. And in that moment, I was then, pre-diabetic and obviously morbidly obese and like, you got to make some changes, Offered surgery. We discussed that. We talked about that, and I didn't want it. I wanted to try a more holistic approach because I know surgery leads to medicine and medicine leads to more medicine.
Yeah.
And, I've seen what that leads
Totally.
to, and I was in a scenario where I was rocked mentally. Like I said, after I had found out, they had made me go to get an ultrasound and I was like, I was scared, and I like went to talk to my leaders at Apple, like the people that were above me because I was a manager, but then I had like senior managers and then a store leader that were like, yeah, there are resources at Apple that can help you with this. And we want to give you time away. And I was like, what do you mean you want to give me time away? They're like, that this exists. And I did know it deep down, but I was like, when you're dealing or been battling something with mental health and physical health, like, there are resources that we could do to get you time away. What do you need, a year? And I was like, a year? And they're like, yeah, and I'm like, I don't know if I need a year, but like, I mean, if I could take time, like I definitely want to take time. And it ended up being a scenario where not only did they give me time away to take care of this, then they came back and they paid you obviously, but then they gave you like the best resources you could find for mental health. It wasn't like I was driving miles. I would go right on San Vicente. I had this incredible human, Howard Cohen, who helped me beyond words, right? To be able to just talk out some of the like overeating issues and really stem it to the other issues that I was kind of experiencing. But it just allowed me somewhere to feel like I could vocalize what was going on. So it's like Dog Pound opens their arms and they kind of like adopt you. And then you run into a scenario where Apple says, hey, like, they dive in and they're like, go take time away. So I was like, what do I got to do? I just got to focus on nutrition.
Unbelievable.
So I was like, all right, so what am I going to do? I'm going to start with understanding portion control. So I had some meal prep brought in, the frozen stuff, and my homie had a discount code. So he's like, use this, whatever. So I ordered meals and I'm like, you grew up cooking, you got time, why don't you just start cooking, So it was, in the beginning, it was just low fat. I was eating carbs and eating high protein. And just low fat diet. So a lot of the same meal every day, you just have, pretty much chicken, rice, broccoli type thing. And, if you need a snack for me, I could eat like plantains, I can do certain things. I just found what worked for me. Right.
So amazing.
And then you see the weight come off. Cause like I said, I was just gifted time. And that doesn't happen. Like I said, my journey will be different. But the crazy thing is that
I think the lesson to learn is, though, there are people that are willing to help, and you got to accept the help.
Oh,
and
man. I mean, it was unbelievable. So, you're going to training 3 times a week, 4 times a week, you're sore as hell. But, then, after I had gotten under 4, I started to hike running. So I was able to start hiking. And that was in like August because I saw the weight actually coming off. So I was like, probably the first clocked in weight I had was at 430. I was probably about pushing 450. I just say I was 430. That was the first time I saw it on a scale. And, I ran into a scenario where, like I said, I started to hike and, I was doing that pretty much every day because I live right by it. I was telling you. So I was hiking and then I would go to personal training and, then I, saw the 100-pound weight loss by November. So I started in July 1st roughly. And then by November I'd lost 100 and I was like, yeah, this is wild, and I was still going to therapy sessions at the time in order to be able to help me through that process. And like I said, I then by Christmas I was close to 300 pounds, that I was going to weigh 300. And I was in a scenario where it was like, that's the weight limit of a mountain bike. My homies were like, yo, why don't you treat yourself? They were like, the bike is going to help you to crush it. Alongside this like insane keto program, my homie like tried to get me on the whole way. And, cause he was in a weight loss journey of his own. He would join me up running every day. It was like, you always had somebody there. There was always somebody there to like be
incredible.
With you. Yeah. It's just amazing. The universe.
And so you get down over 200 pounds down. And now you're still, obviously, we all know it's not like a renewable energy. You got to keep this moving every single day.
Oh yeah. And for me, not, cause obviously I talk a lot, so I apologize.
It's all good.
I'm a talker.
I just want to hear briefly about the business that you started as a result of this. So you start Sugar Free Rich.
Yeah. So, it was funny cause the one homie I have is like, yo, you're going to need a gimmick. You know what I mean? You got to have something. And like, we were thinking of ideas and then, we had let my buddy know who was coming over. He's like, yo, I got the best idea. You're going to call yourself Sugar Free Rich. And I was like, yo, that's actually a great name. And everybody agreed. And we were like, all right, we're going to run with it. And we went on Fiverr and they kind of helped to design like, this is a direct riff from Sweet and Low, but it is what it is. But it's a great gimmick. I ran with it. And then I like I said, I was cooking every meal throughout my journey, because I had that experience cooking and, I was in a scenario where it was like, I can't go to restaurants because I can't even look at a menu. Once you look at a menu, you're like, oh, our grilled cheese. It's like, yeah, please bring me the kids to be able the whole thing. You know what I mean? Like, give me everything on the kids. Whatever. That's like my favorite stuff. You know what I mean? But long story short, I was in a scenario where I basically, when we weren't able to go to the gym anymore, I started to do sessions virtually. And some of the trainers from New York had come out to LA because they thought it would open earlier. And they after one of the sessions, they're like, yo, where are you eating in LA? It's like so expensive to eat healthy. And I was like, bro, you know what I do. I have to cook every meal. I was like, do you want me to just cook for you? You know what I mean? And they're like, oh, that would be amazing because it's like a couple more meals. But then, of course they had to do it. They just like put it on their IG. You know what I'm saying? They like put it on their Instagram, on their story. Yep. And then all of a sudden it was like, you got an order. And then you got like, they basically, that one person then refers their friends. And then all of a sudden, like, you're just getting more referred friends. And then there's like this crazy story attached to it. And people like love the story. So then all of a sudden it's like, and then it's a good meal. You know what I mean? You'll try it. You know?
I can't wait.
It's just got my 2 meals. Like, I cook like just super clean. And like, I have like a grander vision of what I would ultimately want it to be. But I think the insane part is that like, for me, nutrition was probably like the most important piece to it. That's what they always preach to me at the facility is they're like, because I would always say none of this happens without you guys, but they're like, you actually have to own like 95% of this because you're only with me for an hour. Yeah. So you have to do everything else. And I never like looked at it that way because all these people were making so many sacrifices for me. Like for them to help me out at the gym, that means that somebody else couldn't take my spot. And that's the way I looked at it. And I always said to myself, I'm not going to let anybody down. You know what I mean? That's my biggest thing. So
man, I'm so appreciative. So we're going to get to deal with the week, but I just want to tell you, so appreciative of you coming in and sharing your story because people need to hear it, man. So
you're too kind, bro.
It's just incredible. And I want to have you back and continue the conversation. So let's move to deal of the week. My deal of the week is the beach. So I grew up in LA, okay, 37 years, and somehow I never really spent that much time at the beach. I don't know why, but it's a shame because it is the most amazing place. It's such an obvious thing, right? You live in LA. Like, great fucking news, Benji. The beach. Who gives a shit? Except nobody actually goes to the beach. Look at Aryan. He doesn't go. I guarantee you he doesn't go to the beach. Oh, I'm a Valley boy. Okay, so now I'm getting shit for being a Valley boy. Here's the deal. Maybe it's because I'm a Valley boy, okay? But if you're miserable at the beach, I don't know what to tell you, man, because that's an amazing place, okay? I don't care that I'm 818. I rep it all day. I love the fucking beach. That's my deal of the week. What's your deal of the week?
So ultimately what I would love to do is, you know, for anybody who's out there that, you know, if you know somebody, if you're like, you know, over 300 pounds yourself, or you know somebody that's over 300, right now my meals are like $10, and I'm openly willing to be able to bring that price down. If you know somebody who, like I said, would love to try the meal, that like is dying to like get in on a health journey, then, you know, I'll drop it down. My deal, I'll probably bring it down to maybe $6-8. You know, if it will work it out, but I would love to help somebody to be able to get a healthy, clean meal as low as I could possibly go in order for them to help me get.
That's incredible. So you'll work with them.
Oh, I'll work 100%. I will work with them. You better believe it. Yeah.
Amazing. All right. So now to Smith and Benowitz legal tip of the week. Smith and Benowitz is a personal injury, employment, and class action law firm. It's an amazing law firm. Also happens to be in this office, and it's my firm. So it's great.
Epic.
They're sponsoring us. So let's say your doctor tells you to just go smoke some weed, and you want to go to your employer and say, hey, Jim, manager, excuse me while I go hit this pen, bro. They could actually fire you. So that's not an accommodation that you could request from your employer. So if you want to smoke one, don't tell your boss. All right? So that's my legal tip of the week. Wrapping it up. Arian's giving me the showtime because we try to keep it around 30 minutes, Arian June.
Sorry.
No, it's perfect.
I ramble.
He just gave me a good Persian mwah, okay? So, listen, by the way, Persian food's amazing. We should go find a way to have a nice, healthy Persian meal.
Healthy? I think it's amazing.
Okay, so we'll talk more about what we can do, sugar-free options at Sadaf and all the great Valley Persian spots. We really appreciate you coming in. Inspirational. It means a lot to me. It's a very big part of my story, and I really appreciate it. And so if you could tell us where we could find you online, how we could order your meals, and any parting words for the audience.
Right now, you can find me as SugarFreeRich, and honestly, it's all through DM. If you want to touch base with me, like I said, just reach out. Feel free to just direct message me, and I can let you know some of those options. And the one thing I always want to like leave people with, and I think it's valuable, is that like whatever decision it is that you're going to make, whether it's what you're going to eat, if you're going to work out today, or if you know you want to like express something out, right? Just remember how good it feels after. Right? Like you chase the after feeling. You know what I mean? I think there's this crazy thing where like, let's say it's what we want to eat. We get super excited if it's going to be bad. We want to have that. Like you're eating it and you're loving it. And then after you're like, why did I do that? Right. But if you do something that's good for you and make a decision and eat clean and do that right thing, be thoughtful, right? Mindful for yourself, right? And how you feel after, because that's all that matters, right? It's only how you feel after you do something. Or like, you know, a conversation you want to have with somebody you're just dying to have, but you're like, put it off and you're like bottling up all this energy, but then you have it. You're like, oh, it's like a weight off your shoulders. That after feeling, you know what I mean? So any way that you could just remember how good it feels to do that, because you're actually protecting yourself and making a decision that's best for you, do it. You know what I mean? Just own it, you know? Just chase that feeling as often
Arian
as
June
you
just
can.
shed a tear for that one. Thank you so much, man. We appreciate it. All right, we will see you next week, LawFlip. Thank you so much.
LawFlip, objection, your honor. Turn the game upside down. LawFlip, objection, your honor. Turn the game upside down.
Okay, so Arian, they're asking where they could find us. So for LawFlip, it's at LawFlip and LawFlip.com. For Smith & Benowitz, our law firm, which does personal injury, employment, and class actions, you can find us at Smith Benowitz and SmithBenowitz.com. For the personal stuff, like where you're really going to find the juicy stuff, at Benjy Smith and BenjySmith.com. At Wages Guru and LewisBenowitz.com for Lewis. Oh, so LawFlip is produced, directed, and edited by the young legend Arian Tabibi, and visual effects and compositions by another young legend, Oren Azad. Intro music provided by Pen Practice. Pen Practice, what is it? Premium instrumentals for upcoming artists by the music industry's top producers. For more info, visit penpracticemusic.com. I had so much fun recording the intro song with my man Hilton Deuce Wright. Looking forward to hearing more and more from Pen Practice. So the LawFlip identity, this hot logo that you're looking at, created by Garrett Whiston and Travis Nagel. Special thank you to Shai and Seth from the Horwitz Marketing Agency. And lastly, this podcast is made available by Smith & Benowitz for educational and entertainment purposes only. It is only intended to provide general information and opinions about legal and other concepts, and is not intended to be used as a source of legal advice or relied on for legal advice. By listening to this podcast, you understand that no attorney-client relationship is being formed between you and Smith & Benowitz or any of its attorneys. This podcast should not be used as a substitute for competent legal advice from a licensed professional attorney in your state.